Welcome to episode 4 of Busted Buttons. And this episode, we're going to do something a little bit different than we did in the past 3 episodes. And we're going to talk about one topic, or, well, one franchise, a couple different topics, but we're going to talk all about Zelda today. So, for all of our Two Guys Playing Zelda fans that have come over to this new podcast, today is for you. The whole podcast, Zelda Talk. It's going to be a great time. 6 years in the making, I guess, technically. You know, people have been asking us if we're going to do podcasts, so here you go. So, Red Zelda, where do you want to start off today?
Well, now that you've scared away everyone who doesn't care about Zelda.
Yeah, if you don't like Zelda, you might as well just wait for the next podcast.
Exactly. Or go back and listen to our other ones. Give us more views. Give us listens.
Definitely,
we love
definitely.
It. But for Zelda, man, I guess we got to start with the Breath of the Wild sequel. We got the teaser trailer back at E3 in 2019.
Yeah, it's all right.
But since then we haven't got any news. But the teaser trailer got so much talk going, so many theories going. It looks like it takes on a bit of a darker tone. You know, the whole trailer is just about as underground. You know, we see like zombie, what may or may not be Ganondorf getting resurrected. I mean, I'm excited for Zelda to get back to another darker game because I feel like we really haven't had a dark-toned Zelda since like Twilight Princess, Majora's Mask. Since those games, most of the Zelda games lately have been a little more, upbeat, brighter. So for me, that is what I'm probably most excited about with this Breath of the Wild sequel, is just probably exploring, hopefully, a slightly darker tale.
I thought Breath of the Wild was kind of dark because you had the whole Calamity Ganon thing, the whole, what's it called, the pink stuff?
The Malice.
The Malice, yes. The Malice is a better name than Ooze. But I kind of, and then like everything was in ruins, so, I thought it was a little bit dark, but I kind of do understand where you're going, the whole underground. Yes, I think that is definitely Ganondorf. We got to have Ganondorf in this game. I was so disappointed when I got to Hyrule Castle, and I was expecting, I knew that Calamity Ganon was there the whole time, but I was still expecting when I got to Hyrule Castle that I was going to see Ganondorf just on his room like a total badass. Definitely. And like it was going to be an awesome scene, and we just didn't get it. So I think we got to have Ganondorf. We had Ganon in the last one. I'm cool with having Ganondorf and Ganon, but you got to give me Ganondorf in this one because his human element, I just think, adds so much to the game, and it allowed you to have that classic sword fight that you had in Twilight Princess, and then it wasn't Ganondorf, but you had one also in Skyward Sword with Demise.
Yep. Well, and let's just be honest. I think we both agree that the final boss fights in Breath of the Wild were just terrible.
Yeah, they were bad.
It was not a good, either stage of that fight was very good. Like, they looked cool, but that was it. So I'm with you. I want to see a more human form Ganon or Ganondorf, like you said. I just think that makes for a more fun fight, and I really hope that we get that. And kind of along with that, if we get something like a human form or even a resurrected Ganondorf, whatever you want to call it, I hope we just get a little more plot in the Breath of the Wild sequel. Like, Breath of the Wild had a great backstory, like the memories you uncover, the stories about what happened to the champions and Calamity, taking over the divine beasts and the guardians. Like, the backstory for Breath of the Wild was really, really cool. But then once the game started, there was no plot. It's basically, hey, here's the entire world. You can go free the divine beast if you want. If not, just go fight Ganon. It's cool.
Well, they had those memories. You had those memories, too, that you could kind of do out of order. Yeah. So I kind of understand how you had to do that a particular way because, you want to tell... It's hard to tell a story in a particular order if the order is random. So they had to do that very, uniquely. But for me, okay, first of all, do you want to see the divine beast come back in this next game?
Not as dungeons. I wouldn't mind if they're there in some element, like, I don't know, like they're a place you can go, like a town, or like treat them like a village or a town, or just something like that. But I don't think we need to explore them again like they're full-blown dungeons.
Agreed.
We got enough of that. And I know you'll agree with this. Yep. We need to get traditional dungeons in the Breath of the Wild sequel.
Yes, sir. I just need like that. I need that water. I need that forest, that ice, snow. What we got? Desert. I might have already said that one. I don't really know. I was going through a couple of them right there. But yes, traditional dungeons. I'm kind of with you. I don't mind the divine beast being in there. Honestly, I think get rid of it. The concept was okay, but let's replace those dungeons with your traditional themed dungeons, and then let's have some. I love the shrines. I absolutely love the shrines. So let's get some of those back. Kind of as mini dungeons. You know what? But let's not have the what they are, like the
the Trials of Strength, or
the Trials of Strength. Let's get rid of those. The ones where you just walk up and get something. Where the Shrine Quest was actually the shrine. I didn't like that concept. I did love the Shrine Quest, but I still loved it when I got in a shrine and then I still got to go through a puzzle. So
absolutely,
not having those bullshit shrines. I forgot that we can actually. We're talking about Zelda for once, and we can cuss.
Yeah, we're back to censoring ourselves.
I kind of told Red, like with the cussing, we're going to kind of sprinkle it in. But since for 6 years we've talked about Zelda and not been able to cuss, we're gonna get some extra sprinkles today.
Oh,
some
especially
extra
when we get to some of our other topics.
Maybe a little extra cussing in there.
But I'm with you on the shrines though in general. I thought they really padded out the game and gave you like these stuff to do. They had a good reward. I mean, I'd have been fine with it being more like traditional heart pieces instead of the spirit orbs, but I do get there wanting to upgrade your stamina as well if you wanted to, so you had the option. But maybe just cut back on the number of them a little bit, like you said, by taking out the ones where the quest was the whole point, and taking out the combat shrines, because those just got repetitive and they weren't difficult.
Test of strengths, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like just stick to the puzzle shrines, maybe streamline it a little bit, cut them down, and I would be great with that because finding them was some of the most fun in Breath of the Wild. Like it gave us something to look for while exploring that giant world other than the stupid Korok seeds. Let's be honest, Korok shit. You know?
Yeah. The world was absolutely beautiful.
Yep.
It was from the trailer. It appears that we're going to get the same art style. Makes a lot of sense. Use the same graphical engine. Make it a little bit easier. Now, okay, I have a whole video on this. We need Link to talk. I know a lot of people are going to be against that, but it's just games are evolving and they're becoming more in depth. So Link, I just think you got to finally give him a voice. I understand why they did in the past, but I think gaming's just different now. And since they're different, I got a whole video. Go check out that whole video. I'll put a link in the description for it. But here's like something really interesting that I actually thought of this week on our Discord. And I don't know how much I even thought like it was possible. But as I started thinking about it, I was like, you know what? This could actually be true. And that is it the same Link in Zelda that we had in the original Breath of the Wild?
Now, I kind of hope it is because I would like for this to be a direct sequel.
I wouldn't.
You're wanting to go into a different place in time here. No, but but my thought is, if you're doing the same world, the same art style, all that stuff, just make it a direct sequel, like basically like A Link to the Past to A Link Between Worlds. Make it the same Link and Zelda. I know they look very similar, minus the haircut that they gave Zelda.
Yep.
So I think that they will go that route. Maybe it's like they're trying to rebuild Hyrule, and they stumbled upon this crypt or grave or dungeon or whatever it is that they're in the trailer, sorry. And that's how we get there. So I would actually be fine with it being, a direct sequel, because as much as the timeline is all convoluted, we don't get that many like back-to-back releases that are direct sequels to the previous game. And I'd be good with that continuity, along with like the Switch introducing probably a new generation of fans to Zelda who maybe didn't jump on board the motion controls with Skyward Sword. And so now that they're connected to this Link and Zelda, and they want to stay in that world with that same characters. So you apparently disagree, though, so I want to hear your counterpoint.
I don't want a direct sequel. To me, okay, first of all, Nintendo's never done that. So that's why I don't think they're going to do it this time, because Nintendo likes to surprise you. So giving us the same Link in the Zelda in the same, like a little bit after time period. I guess technically you can go to the Shrine of Resurrection. It could be another 100 years, but a similar time period. That's just too simple to me. Yeah, we've had sequels, but we've had sequels like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Completely different lands, or something that didn't exist or did exist. Who knows? It was definitely different from Ocarina of Time. And then we had the Link to the Past Zelda, or Link. I knew I was going to do that one day, and I finally called Link Zelda. But we had the Link to the Past.
We spent 6 years talking about Zelda. I'm glad we made it this long before we made that mistake.
It's the podcast, man. It all threw me off. But we had the same Link in Link to the Past and Link's Awakening and Oracle of Ages Seasons. I forgot which order those go in, LA and Oracle games. But they were
I think they changed them at one point.
I think they did change them. I just can't remember which way they changed it to.
Me neither.
But those were going to completely new worlds. So having a direct sequel in the same world, to me, that's just kind of boring. Like, okay, we went 10,000 years after the last... Or no, wait. That's not technically true.
There's a 10,000 year gap in there somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, but it was a long time after the last Zelda game in the timeline. I'm saying let's go to before Skyward Sword. Let's totally switch it up. Let's throw a screwball, different Link and Zelda. Obviously, they're going to look similar because of the graphical engine.
Of course.
So, they can look similar and still be different Links in Zelda. By the way, Link looks pretty much the same in every game.
That's true.
Except for his pink hair in Link to the Past. So, no, I'm not with you. Like, a direct sequel to me, that's just, I've already played that game.
Yeah.
Okay, you get a little bit of a different story, maybe some different dungeon design, maybe some different things here and there. But to me, I've already played that game. I don't want to play that game again. I don't mind the same art style, but give me something that's completely different. I want a different incarnation. I want a different time period. I want a somewhat different story, and I want human Ganondorf.
Now, I would say, though, this wouldn't get you the human Ganondorf, but if we went back to before Skyward Sword...
Demise.
And made it, in Skyward Sword, the story was, the Demon King Demise came out and fought Hylia, the goddess, and so she sent Skyloft up to, protect the Hylians. What if this prequel or this next Zelda game is like that lead up to Demise's invasion? And it's his invasion of the world leading up to Hylia. We saw at the end of the trailer, it looked like Hyrule Castle was rising up into the sky a little bit. What if that's, hey, Hylia's sending Skyloft up into the sky and we're about to have this final showdown between all the other races and Demise and his hordes. So I think it is possible to make this work. Maybe what we saw in the trailer of Link and Zelda seeing this being kind of reincarnated.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how the Demon King invades. I mean, maybe that's actually Demise or some form of him. And I think that could work with what we've seen in the trailer. And
Damn right it could work.
Hey, that's the beauty of like a 1.5-minute teaser trailer. We can make it fit almost anywhere.
Yep, exactly. I think you talked yourself into it. That sounds so much better than a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild. Like,
it'd be pretty awesome.
It's just something different, a new story, a new time era. So I don't know. And do you think it's going to be called Breath of the Wild 2?
I don't think so. I mean,
agreed.
They have not called a single Zelda game like number 2. I mean, I guess you had Zelda 2, The Adventures of Link,
which is actually the only game that doesn't have Legend of in it.
Right, which is so random.
Yeah, it's Nintendo days.
But every other Zelda game, they have gone with a different name just to kind of fit the theme of that game. And I hope they stick with that. Like, I just don't want to keep saying Breath of the Wild 2, Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah.
I know that name recognition, especially for a younger generation of fans who's not as ingrained into Zelda as we are and a lot of our fans are, but it's just that name recognition would probably rope some more people in. They're like, oh, the original Breath of the Wild was awesome. Breath of the Wild 2 should also be awesome. But, you put the Legend of Zelda name in there, you're going to sell millions of copies.
Yeah. So I just saw Breath of the Wild, I think. Now, this number I don't know particularly what this number was for, but it was somewhere around 18 million copies sold. I don't know if that was North America or worldwide, but it's a damn lot. That's a damn lot of games sold. Now, when do you think it's going to be released?
With Nintendo's history of delays and kind of it'll be ready when it's ready approach, I don't think it's going to be until next year. I don't think it's going to be until 2021. I'd love to see it this year, holiday time, especially to compete. Especially to compete with the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 coming out. But to me, even if they're reusing so much of the art assets and the engine like they did with Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask, this game is much bigger than those games were. I mean, even reusing the stuff you've already created, you still have to fill a whole world and come up with a story and enemies and engaging characters and everything. So I honestly, and like I said, Nintendo's got a history of delaying games. Look at Metroid Prime 4 right now.
I think holiday 2020 is a good chance, to be honest with you, because, you still got to fill up a lot of the world, but you're using that same graphical engine. You've already designed a game like this, so I'm not going to sit here and say that it's coming holiday 2020, but I do think it's possible, and I think a lot of that is because of next gen coming out. Nintendo has to do something around holiday 2020. If we're getting the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, they got to have something. Whether it's a big Mario, well, they're probably not going to have a Mario game because we already saw something for that.
We'd have heard something about that.
But if they don't do something, like the Switch is going to get left behind, and if they release something in holiday 2020, that's still 4 years after Breath of the Wild. So that's still a long time to develop a game, and I think they usually don't go more than 5-6 years in between games. So I think for the same engine that they're using, I think 4 years is definitely doable.
I have a hard time believing it's already been that long since Breath of the Wild came out. It feels like it was just like a year ago. So it has been a big window. But, speaking a little selfishly, since I do plan on buying one of those next-gen systems pretty much at launch, I'm like, do I really need a Zelda game to drop at the same
Ooh, that's
time?
a good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
So it would be
we
good
don't
for
need
Nintendo.
that.
Yeah, but then on the flip side too, it's like I wonder if Nintendo wants to get lost in that shuffle by trying to release their game at the same time as these systems. So they might actually want to wait and get into a time frame where there's less competition themselves. So, hey, I trust Nintendo pretty much explicitly. They've never led me astray when they've done this, it'll be ready when it's ready approach. So I would love holiday 2020, obviously, because I'm always in the mood for new Zelda. But hey, take their time, get it right. That's the important thing.
All right, that's enough about the Breath of the Wild sequel. The most annoying parts of Zelda game or of the Zelda franchise. That's what I want to talk about. We have sat here forever and we praised Zelda. We talked about how good it is. We've talked about a lot of the bad stuff too. But let's talk about some of those annoying parts of Zelda that because for some reason, we got cranky and mean when we started this podcast. Or at least I did. I was like, I've been nice about everything. I've been kind. I haven't cussed. And with the podcast, I'm like, let's get edgy. Let's get sexy. Now, I can't get really sexy because there's no video. And because, I lost that ability a long time ago.
Hey, you and me both. The ravages of time, my friend. The ravages of time.
Some of the most annoying parts of Zelda. The Skyward Sword, Silent Realms, Twilight Princess, Twilight Realms. Like, I just hated both of those. And Twilight Princess is a great game. After you get done with those stupid wolf parts. And I understand that the game is like a darker tone, darker in colors. But that whole Twilight area, I mean, if you're like into that really dark stuff, I understand that you might like that part. But for me, and also, I don't like playing as animals or different creatures. I like playing as Link. So I don't know, that and the Silent Realms and Skyward Sword, those were just too intense, man. You screw up, you're screwed. I hate those things where you can go all the way through and mess up once and you have to redo it. No, I'm not about that. I got shit to do. I don't have time to redo things in a video game.
Dude, plus, when it comes to those, and we're going to move on from the Silent Realms eventually, but those fucking Silent Realms, I tell you, anytime, Skyward Sword is not a stealth game. So when you force these long sections where if one of these things spots you, you're screwed, I'm like, this is not a stealth game. Why are you forcing these sections in here? This game is about solving puzzles and beating enemies. And in the Silent Realm, you're not really doing either of those things. You're just sneaking around trying to not get caught. And that kind of ties into another one of my things I hate. When you've got a bunch of items and abilities and the game freaking takes them away from you. I'm looking at you, the trading sequence in Oracle of Ages. I'm looking at the freaking the sequence in Skyward Sword where you lose all your items at the volcano or the desert. I cannot remember.
I think it's the volcano.
It is the volcano. Thank you. I'm like, I've spent my whole game getting all these items, and just for you to freaking take them away from me. Oh, and then it usually that introduces just an annoying process to try to get them back. It's like adding length to the game just for the sake of adding length. Because, hey, I acquired all these items. I want to use these items. And you take them away from me just for a stupid trading quest or a stealth sequence where you're sneaking around trying to get your items back. I hate that mechanic so much. Zelda's not the only franchise that's guilty of it. A lot of franchises are. But stripping me of my abilities and my powers after I've earned them is just a cheap way to make you feel like a more vulnerable character.
Fucking Crescent Island, man, in Oracle of Ages. That place was terrible. And speaking of Oracle of Ages, the same area, Rolling Ridge, 2 dungeons back to back. That turns me off to that freaking game so much. Like I hate Oracle of Ages is my least favorite Zelda game. And one of the main reasons,
mine too.
One of the main reasons is because it's so contained. Like they don't let you go anywhere. Like you gotta go to this area, this area, this area.
Very railroaded, yeah.
And then like with like I said, Rolling Ridge, you're left there for 2 straight dungeons dealing with that stupid. It looks like a mountain, but I guess it's a ridge. Whatever. They don't know what they're talking about in that land. But it turns me off to that game so much.
It halts the momentum when you get stuck there like that. Ugh.
And then, and
go ahead. Sorry.
Minish Cap. Minish Cap's a great game. One of the better handheld games, but those stupid Kinstones, there's just way too much of that crap going on. And it sucks because I was actually playing it on 100% of that game.
Oh,
and I didn't actually know there was something that you got for doing all the Kinstones. So my dumbass didn't do that. But my dumbass did do the stupid figurines quest, which was just, that's a little bit addicting, first of all.
Hey, it's gambling.
It's like gambling. But just that is the most tedious process. Like, I don't understand the concept. And the reward is just, I don't remember what the reward was. It was stupid. It wasn't worth it. But except for the gambling excitement, oh my God, that was freaking terrible. And I don't know why I did it. And then do the Kinstone. What the hell were you thinking, Hick?
You did the wrong portion of 100%, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, switching over to Wind Waker, how about the Triforce Shard hunting? That was so freaking annoying. They
ruined
made
that game, man.
They made it a little better in the HD remake, but still, it was annoying going and finding them all. It was annoying getting the maps to them, and it just felt so anticlimactic when you actually got them. I mean, just like you just get the regular like item find music, dun 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 dun. I'm like, I just got a piece of the fucking Triforce. Like the gods should be singing to me right now.
Yeah.
So I hated the Triforce Shard hunting. That was the beginning of Wind Waker going way downhill for me.
Well, Wind Waker really went downhill after Tower of the Gods, because me and you have talked about this. That first part of Wind Waker, like that's hard to beat. That is great Zelda right there.
Absolutely.
And then after that, like, okay, you go down to Hyrule, one of the best moments in the Zelda franchise right there.
Agreed.
But you go down there, and then I don't know what happens after that, man. Like, okay, you have the Earth Temple after that, which I absolutely hate the Earth Temple.
One of my least favorite in the whole
I
freaking
understand.
series.
No, I don't understand it. That's why I hate it. But like in a game that's colorful, like you made Dark Dungeon, and I understand how that kind of throws a wrench in the whole game, and some people really like that because it's different. But for me, the game's so colorful. Like, we didn't need like a dead dungeon.
No.
But one of the main things that's wrong with that dungeon is the theme. There's absolutely hardly any theme to that place.
It's awful.
Some of the puzzles and the mirror stuff I actually didn't mind. But overall, actually, I'd like the boss too. I know a lot of people don't. I like the boss.
Jahala.
I actually hate that Earth Temple, Wind Temple. Love the Wind Temple. But then you get to that Triforce Shard quest. And I don't know, man. It just, the Earth Temple and that quest, it just really ruins that second half of Wind Waker for me. And that's why it's dropped down to like 6th in my favorite Zelda games.
Part of the problem is I hate escort quests in any game. I hated carrying Ruto around in Ocarina of Time. And the last 2 dungeons of Wind Waker are basically giant escort quests. And you have to play the damn command melody over and over and over. And I've seen you struggle with the wind baton, so I know it's already not your strong suit. But just hearing and having to stop and play that same like 4 notes, whatever it is, just 5 notes over and over and over just drives me insane. I'm just like, this is so tedious, and your companions can't fight, they can't protect themselves. All they can do is fly you over some gaps. That is it. It is just just can't stand the command melody.
And speaking of the command melody, the TP Howling Stones, kind of a similar concept. I suck at that. What's it called? The Wind Waker. That's what it's called. But the Howling Stones in Twilight Princess, I suck at those too.
Me too.
Absolutely hate doing them. And then we're going to end it right here with I'm just going to say the words because that's all you need to say. Phantom Hourglass, Temple of the Ocean King. It sucks. It fucking sucks. That's all we need to say about it. So let's switch up gears a little bit, kind of get back to not back to the Breath of the Wild sequel, but the next villain we're going to get in the okay, let's get away. Not exactly that. Okay, we probably know that we're going to get Ganondorf, but let's say that we get a whole new villain that we weren't expecting. Like, what do you want that villain to be?
I want it to not be the imprisoned.
yeah. Well, but the imprisoned is Demise, though. So that's
True.
why I don't mind the imprisoned because, like, it ends with Demise. Well, okay, I do hate the imprisoned. That's showing back in the last topic, but it does end with Demise, so I can respect it a little bit. But go ahead.
No, I would like to see maybe a female, honestly, antagonist. I mean, we kind of had Twinrova was a little bit in the Oracle's games. Plus, of course, she was a boss in Ocarina of Time. But just something that maybe flips on ahead a little bit. Like you've got this Gerudo tribe that is, this all-female group of thieves and pirates, depending on the game. And
who are connected to Ganondorf.
Exactly. So maybe go that route. But something that is very intimidating. Like I do love having a sword fight at the end of like Wind Waker,
Agreed.
Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword. And that would fit in well with a Gerudo female opponent as well. Sorry, I stuttered there. Where'd that come from?
You're drunk, go home.
Yeah.
Well, you're already home, but...
But there is something to be said for a boss that is just giant, though. Like, it takes up so much space, and like, so I'm torn. I'm familiar with Ganondorf, Demise. I like him, but just, I'd be okay with something a little different.
Are you talking about big like as in King Dodongo, or are you talking about big as in muscular like Demise?
Both.
Okay.
No,
I want a big, muscular King Dodongo. That's what I want.
Well, my first thought was something like huge, like King Dodongo. I mean, just not quite like, Beast Ganon from Breath of the Wild, because that fight sucked. He was huge, don't get me wrong, but it sucked. But just something that to me, like just seeing a boss that big always feels so intimidating, and like you're truly fighting something giant. Like I think I was playing through Twilight Princess right now again, and that's felt like Morpheal. And Morpheal is a terrible boss, but it's huge, and like it dwarfs Link so much. So, but I know you're more of a fan of like the big bulky like. Still a human form, though, right?
But I kind of like the human form because then you get the sword fight, which I really love. So I kind of prefer that more than like, because look at what's it called, Dark Beast Ganon, like in Breath of the Wild. That's right, Dark Beast Ganon.
I think it was Dark Beast Ganon.
I used to know all this stuff about Zelda in the proper terms. Then I got away from it for a little while, so I don't know all of them. But look how big that thing was.
You've played too much Death Stranding.
Yeah. But that thing was gigantic, and just the fight was so. There's that big where it becomes too big, and it's just like, okay, you're just going a little bit ridiculous. This is a little bit too much. So I like, big, muscular human that's intimidating, and then you get that sword fight. And I actually was thinking about while you were talking, I can't believe that we never actually had a female antagonist that I believe. Have we had like the main one?
Not that I can think of. I mean, for the longest time, I thought the Link Between Worlds, Yuga, I thought that was a female.
Yeah, well, I thought Girahim was a female at first, too.
Could be, yeah.
Nintendo does that. They make, I don't know what that's called, but where they
androgynous? Is that the word?
Where you kind of don't know exactly what the gender is until they either tell you or you kind of learn later in the game. Because I thought, like I said, I thought Vadi for some reason was female from Minish Cap.
Oh, I thought he was too at first.
And then I thought, like you said, Yuga from A Link Between Worlds, and then like I said, Girahim. I thought all three of those were females at the beginning.
Yes. So I can't think of one where we had a full blown female antagonist. Like I said, the closest things like Twinrova in the Ocarina games trying to resurrect Ganon, but even then Ganon's still the main focus.
Well, I mean, do we even need a new villain? Like, because I mean, Ganondorf and Ganon, that's awesome. We need more Demise. We need more freaking Demise, Nintendo. But I mean, I don't really even. I'm cool with the female antagonist because we never got that. But at the same time, I mean, it's tradition. It's 30 plus years, I think now. Like, and these villains have worked that we've already gotten. So, I'm okay with a new one, but do we really even need a new one?
I don't think so. And plus, it's just like, the whole time, it's been Ganon is the one who, or Ganondorf, I should say, is the one who got the Triforce of Power. So, I mean, I guess if you made a Zelda game and took the Triforce as a focus away from it, then maybe you could get away from it. But as long as the Triforce is a focus of the game, Ganondorf's the one who's found it, and the Fates have kept it with him. I mean, Twilight Princess, they went back in time, and he technically never obtained it, but he still shows up with it in Twilight Princess in that timeline. So the goddesses and Fate have determined that if the Triforce is involved, Ganondorf will have the Triforce of Power.
And I think we need the Triforce in a Zelda game. Like we've had a couple of games where you haven't had the Triforce, and they've taken place in different worlds usually. I don't think have we ever had a Hyrule game that hasn't had the Triforce in it?
Minish Cap didn't have the Triforce, and it was technically in Hyrule. You're right. They kept talking about something called the Light Force, so I think it's just another name for it. But we never actually saw the three triangles,
which is weird because it came after Skyward Sword, and I believe Skyward Sword, while it's not Hyrule, I believe everybody thinks that it was like the surface forming into Hyrule, but in Nintendo, I don't know in the encyclopedia or whatever if they've actually ever confirmed that. Do you know?
I don't off the top of my head. But I'm pretty sure that's what, because Link and Zelda stayed on the surface, and I'm pretty sure that was to found Hyrule. Yeah. So.
And then here's the thing, if we can't get a big and muscular human, I wouldn't mind one with some magic. It's not really something that I like a lot, but having a final boss with a lot of magic and stuff, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You might be more into that. I don't know, talk about, do you want that? Do you not want that?
I would be on board with it. Like, Twinrova is one of my all-time favorite boss fights, just the way you reflect the ice and the fire and use it back against her. And also, I like the Phantom Ganon and the Aghanim, where you have to deflect the magical orbs back at them. I know that's not your strong suit.
Yeah. I don't know why I suck at that so much.
Sorry, I keep bashing all your gameplay here, but we can.
All I gotta do is talk about you jumping into a lava pit.
I say we can spin it out. We can spin a podcast talking about how many times we've both screwed up.
Hey man, recording's hard.
But I would like to see something that incorporates some magic like that. And I think if you took some of the elements of the Ganondorf fight from Ocarina of Time and then added in the sword fight element from your Wind Wakers, your Skyward Sword, your Twilight Princess, that would make for a really awesome multi-staged boss fight. So, even keeping Ganondorf or Demise, you can still put some fun twists on it that would make it feel fresh. I mean, I know we fought him a dozen times already, but there's enough they could still explore, especially if you start bringing magic into it.
Okay, let's switch it up a little bit. I feel like all my transitions.
We're only 4 podcasts in.
Switch it up a little bit and
we're only
talk
4
about
episodes
something
in.
different. But
we're only 4 episodes in. We'll get there.
Yeah, but here's something that I kind of want to. We've done videos for both of these things. But I want to talk about our favorite dungeons and our favorite games because some people might not watch those videos. We'll put links in the description for the top 10 Zelda games and the top 10 Zelda dungeons. But for people that haven't watched those videos or people that are new coming over to this podcast and don't know who we were from Two Guys Playing Zelda, which is what the TGPZ stands for in TGPZ Gaming. TGPZ. But, Red, go ahead and talk about what are some of your favorite dungeons in the franchise?
Well, number one has been for me since Ocarina of Time came out has been the Spirit Temple. I mean, just where it is out in the desert in this giant desert colossus, the like Egyptian sounding theme, like the two sides being parallel to each other, the giant statue in the middle of it. You get to explore it as a child and as adult Link. And then the Twinrova fight, it all adds up to me. The Spirit Temple to this day, even 20 years after Ocarina of Time, is still my all-time favorite dungeon. Sandship is up there for me, and honestly, surprisingly, I was a fan of a lot of the dungeons in Skyward Sword. I know a lot of people weren't, but just exploring a pirate ship like this and using the time mechanic to have it like back in ancient times, and then when it's like all ruined and everything in the present day, and just exploring a dungeon that was just a pirate ship, to me was such a novel concept. The mini boss was my favorite in the whole series, I think. Yes, it was just the captain was just amazing. The final boss kind of drags it down a little bit for me, but the rest of Sandship was amazing. Arbiter's Grounds. I am going to hit on Arbiter's Grounds because to me, the spinner is the best item in the franchise and Star-Lord is the best boss in the franchise. You put those two together and the Arbiter's Grounds has to be on there. And you're probably seeing a theme here because all three of these are kind of desert or sand-related dungeons.
Desert dungeons are good, man.
They are. So those would probably be my top 3. I mean, I could keep going, but I'm going to give you some chance to talk.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of those. Okay, the Spirit Temple, that place, it's just awesome. I mean, we talked about going out there, the theme, blah, 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 like how it looks. The whole place is just freaking amazing. And it's in the right place in the game. Like towards the very end, that's a perfect place for it. Forest Temple in Ocarina of Time. Always been one of my favorite. And there for a little while, I was actually going back and forth on whether I like the Spirit Temple or the Forest Temple more. And then I watched a video, I think, one of our videos maybe, on the Forest Temple. I was like, no, this is the best. There's that just theme. That, I'm not really a big fan of like Eerie. But for some reason, the Forest Temple, it just does it for me. Like that theme is just perfect. I love the aesthetic. That theme is perfect
for that dungeon.
Yeah, it just feels like a creepy place. Like I said, I'm not usually a big fan of that, but I don't know, for some reason that Forest Temple I am. Now I don't like the backtracking in it. That's probably the only thing that I don't like about the dungeon. But like I know there's those 2 rooms that are actually outside. You can kind of look up and see the sky. It's like we didn't get like stuff like that in like Oracle, why the hell am I mixing Ocarina of Time and freaking the Oracle games together? Like, I feel like I should punch myself in the face for that. Like, that's
how about you go ahead and take a time out?
I'm just a disgrace to Zelda now. Go ahead.
No, but I'm with you. Like in the Forest Temple, just being able to like twist those rooms. They kind of spin some of the rooms around with such a fun concept. And I know you and I both are huge fans of Stone Tower Temple. I mean, in Majora's Mask, just the theme alone. Elevates that dungeon. I think we both, when we put together our ranking of dungeon themes, we both had the Stone Tower Temple theme as number 1. Yeah. And that's one of the few unanimous votes we've ever had. But so I'm with you on that. So I think, are there any other ones that you had that really jumped out that we didn't already hit on?
Well, kind of go back to Stone Tower. We've always liked a dungeon that has some of that outside element to it. Yes. And just, there wasn't a lot of it to Stone... Well, actually, there was quite a bit because I think the whole place, or a lot of the place was missing its roof, wasn't it? Yeah. I guess when it's flipped over one way. I don't know, man. When you walk in there, I think in the second part, and it's flipped upside down and like the sky's below you in that very first room. Is that the second part, or is that how it starts out?
It's very early on.
Well, whenever like you walk in there, like that first room, there's sky... Just, I don't know, man, that does so much for me. And that's why I also like City in the Sky from Twilight Princess.
Oh, yeah.
just a dungeon with a big outside element. And if you hate City in the Sky and you've only played Twilight Princess once, I encourage you to go back, play Twilight Princess again, and play City in the Sky, because I absolutely hated it my first time. Second time through, I absolutely loved it. When you kind of know what you're doing, it's a lot better dungeon, but just that whole outside element, and like kind of the double hook shot or double claw shot in that game, and the boss, Argo Rock. Argo Rock is fucking amazing. That is an incredibly fun boss. So I think that's really an underrated dungeon because it's a difficult dungeon. I think people really struggle with it. They get really frustrated by it, and that's why they don't end up liking it that much. But if you play it a couple times, I think you're going to like it. But Red, I think we've talked about everything. I see on our notes here that you have a Turtle Rock and Ancient Cistern. So do you kind of want to wrap those up real quick?
Yeah, Turtle Rock, I just love the look of it for being a 2D game. It's like a dark cave, but it's so lit up by the lava. And all the tubes going through it almost remind me a little bit of some of the Mario games. Plus the approach to the boss is like we're just riding a moving platform and you've got just columns of torches lining both sides of the approach. And then the boss fight itself is one of my favorite boss fights. Ancient Cistern, just briefly, I love like the light versus dark duology you have going on. Like when you're above the surface, it's all light, gold, water. And then you go below and it's like the dark purples. It's like
it's like heaven versus hellfeel.
Yeah, and like when you're climbing out of that basement on the rope and all like the skeletons or stall, whatever they are chasing you up that rope, it really feels like you're climbing out of hell back to the light above you. So, I mean, all that stuff, like I said, Skyward Sword is not my favorite game by any stretch, but I love some of the dungeons in there. So, but
I think people like a lot of the dungeons. They just don't like a lot of the bosses in that game.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, I'll agree with that. But speaking of favorite games, I think that's a good way to jump into one of the most contentious conversations among Zelda fans. What's your favorite game?
Okay, Ocarina of Time, hands down, my favorite game. Then my list goes like this, and it goes Ocarina of Time, Breath of the Wild, Link to the Past, Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess. In Breath of the Wild, like it has my second favorite Zelda game, and I think like there's a lot of things that I think are wrong with Breath of the Wild. But just how big the world is and how fun it was to explore, and just we didn't have traditional dungeons, but you had all those shrines. And I think it's really hard for me to not put that towards the top because just the land was beautiful, the music was amazing, the characters, the story was okay, but just interacting with the characters and the NPCs. I've said it already, the game's fucking beautiful. So like for me, it's just hard to kind of get away from it. Link to the Past, my first Zelda game, it does it. It's so good. It's I don't know. It wasn't simple back in the days. It feels simple now, but just I don't know. I can't unless you were alive in 1992 and playing Link to the Past. Yeah, it's just hard to describe because you go back to it now and you're like, it's okay, but it's not that great. But in '92. That game was amazing. Skyward Sword, I know a lot of people will hate on Skyward Sword. For me, I thought the dungeons were good. The bosses could have been better, but you also had some good bosses. You had Demise. I'm trying to think about them now. The fourth one, Ancient Cistern.
Argorok.
Yeah, Galactos.
Jeez,
yeah, and the Argorok? One in the Earth Temple, the Ball of Fire. Dang it. What's his name?
I can't remember hardly anything. I've only played Skyward Sword once.
Man. So. We got away from Zelda for too long. But and then Twilight Princess, I kind of won't talk about too much. It's just, I don't know, just the whole, like I hate the wolf parts, but after that, like it comes together really well. Strong dungeons, pretty strong big world, great themes, great story. I love the whole Hyrule Castle, the final boss fight, the final sword fight. So that right there is a great game too. Yep.
Link to the Past is number one for me, and you kind of hit on this. Like, it was the first Zelda game that we both played, so I think it's always going to have that nostalgia factor. But to me, I think it perfected 2D gameplay. Like, the controls were... I compare it to, like, what Mario Odyssey is for 3D gaming right now. Like, the best controlling game I've ever played is Mario Odyssey. But Link to the Past was that for 2D games. Plus, there were so many dungeons. The complexity, I thought, was just perfect enough, the difficulty level. And it told a great story for a 2D game. Plus... having the light world and the dark world to explore was fantastic. Ocarina of Time, you pretty much hit on everything I love about it. The story's amazing. The world, just the whole hub setup, the dungeons, plus the transition to 3D was so well done. And the story it tells is one of the best in the entire franchise. Twilight Princess, I The dungeons do it for me in Twilight Princess. There's so many of them, and we're missing that in modern. Like going back as far as, even Majora's Mask, Skyward Sword, they didn't have as number of dungeons that Twilight Princess did. I'm with you on the wolf parts, but again, I thought some of the sword play and your controls in Twilight Princess, all the hidden skills you got, really made Twilight Princess stand out for me. Majora's Mask. The side quests, we don't get a ton of that in Zelda, but all the mask quests are what really fleshed out that world and made you care about these characters in an entirely new world. I mean, the Anju and Kaifi quest alone is one of my all-time favorite. It's timely, it's tedious, but it's one of my all-time favorite Zelda moments. And then number 5 for me kind of oscillates. Skyward Sword is kind of there right now, along with Wind Waker. Breath of the Wild would fall in there because that open world, the strength of that world, like you hit on, it's an amazing world. So, I mean, for me, A Link to the Past is number 1, and it's going to take a lot to knock it off its perch.
Man, Red, it went too fast today, man. It went too fast getting back to Zelda. We're sorry, folks, but we're coming to the end of our podcast. Now, this isn't going to be the last time we talk about Zelda. I can guarantee you that. But I don't know if we'll do it for a whole podcast, but hey, you never know. But let's go ahead and kind of wrap it up here. Like I said, all the links for this stuff that we're about to talk about will be in the description. But if you want to support us, you can support us on Patreon or PayPal. Or if you can't support us financially, which is fine, you can also leave a review or a rating, whichever podcast platform you're on. That really does help us out. We got merchandise on our websites. We may receive a commission if you go through our links. And then, Red, you kind of want to talk about our YouTube, Discord.
Absolutely.
You kind of talk about all that.
Yep, YouTube, we've got all our Zelda videos. We have hundreds of Zelda videos up on our YouTube channel. Discord, Zelda is the main focus, but we talk about a lot of other general gaming topics on there. We also have our Zelda Realm Facebook group, and we also are all over Twitter. We've got TGPZ Gaming. We've got Two Guys Playing Zelda. We got Red at Two Guys Playing Zelda. So we're everywhere on social media, so find us.